What is grief? I find grief is something that's really tricky to describe. It's that really strong feeling of loss when something that was there for so long is just gone and it doesn't feel right. Like my nana, I used to spend every single weekend with her. Every Saturday I'd go over, I'd do all the chores, I'd get money and we'd hang out and do like word searches and stuff like that. And then we went on a trip and she passed away when we were gone, and you come back and she's just not there. And it's such an odd feeling because, you know, 1 minute she's there and then you're not even in the city and then she's gone. You come back and it's like a whole new feeling, like being in the city, being in her house. I find grief is so hard to deal with because it's a really misplaced feeling. I don't know where to put my grief.
Do you know what? I think you're absolutely right that it is a really tricky thing to know how to do, right? Despite the fact that humans have been doing it for thousands of years, it still is something that we find incredibly difficult. And when you think about it, that makes sense. You know, for a lot of people, grief is the hardest process they go through in their lives. When you think about the big events in your life, often the sad ones are ones that have been really tricky to manage. And grief is about, as you say, it's about loss. It's about our natural response to loss. And sometimes, you know, that process involves lots of different emotions. So I think of grief as almost being like a container that all the different emotions kind of sit in, right? And you bounce around them. It might be sadness because she's not there. It might be anger that actually, you know, you didn't get to see her before she passed away. All those kinds of things. It might be worry. It might be numbness. It might be all sorts of things. And so it's no wonder you find it really difficult. I think we all find it really difficult. And I think we used to think you could kind of control it and it was about stages and you graduated from one stage to the next, and now we know that's kind of not how it works. You can be on this roller coaster for quite some time. And I guess the other thing that's important to remember with grief is that absolutely it shows up when someone we love has passed away, but it can also show up in other situations of loss, right? So big relationship breakups, or something happening in your life which suddenly means an option isn't there for you anymore. A dream that you had for how things would be or an expectation kind of changes. I don't know what your experience of that's been like. Yeah,
well, I had my best friend move away to another city.
That's right.
For university. It always happens around this age. And that was pretty tough. It was tougher than I expected because I still get to see them like every so often, but the feeling of them not being there after like being through high school together, seeing them every single day, being so close, and then they're just gone as well, and you can only really see them over a screen. I think it's a really weird feeling as well. It's quite strange.
Yeah, look, I think that's a big deal, right? This person who is such a big part of your life suddenly is still there, but in a really different way. And I think sometimes we can beat ourselves up about that a little bit and go, oh well, you know, she's still around, I shouldn't be so worried about this or so concerned or finding it so tough. But actually grief can absolutely be at play in that kind of a situation. You know, things were a particular way, something has changed, you've lost something, and that's a really big deal. And so I think, you know, it's useful for us to remember that grief doesn't just show up in situations where people have passed away. It can show up in other situations. When we know what's happening, it can help us kind of be in a better space to understand it and navigate it. So yeah.